Let's take a look at that trivia question once again, because Sandy is joining us from the Brick Oven Bakery. I want to hear what she thinks the answer is. So this old wives' tale says, if your toddler often does the downward dog yoga pose, it means what? What do you think, Sandy?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's they're planning to walk soon.
Oh, well,
I really think
that makes more sense, right?
I mean, but if it's an old wives' tale, it might be like, you know, back in the day, they said they're going to be strong in a mountain, as a mountain. So
I was thinking, why wouldn't they do the mountain pose if that's what they meant?
Is there a mountain pose?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. See, I didn't know that.
Another one I've got down.
Was yoga a thing, though? When old wives tales?
When did the old wives make these tales?
This is a good
We can
How
ask
old are
more
these
and more
wives?
questions.
How old are these wives and where are they?
So you're going with which one, Sandy?
I'm going to go with planning on starting to walk. Yeah,
soon.
so we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, there is a really good treat on the line today.
Yeah.
I mean, all of your treats are delicious, but this one in particular can be used so many ways.
This is like my favorite. So, all right, so let's talk about bread. So like you said, it is alive. This comes from a starter. The starter is flour, water, and salt, and it's the air that brings in the fermentation of it, and it feeds it and gives it the yeast rather than like commercial yeast. And it literally looks alive. You'll see that in a minute, hopefully. But I wanted to talk about something because a lot of people will ask us to slice their bread. Unfortunately, we don't have a bread slicer because they're pretty spendy. So we don't have one. And now that Steve's gone from the production space, I don't have a person to slice it. And I'm going to promise you, you don't want me slicing your bread. You're going to get thin pieces and you're going to get thick pieces. But I'm going to show you real quick how we slice it at home. So your first key is get a really good bread knife. If you use sourdough and eat sourdough a lot, get a good bread knife. It might cost you $150, but I promise it's worth it. Get a good knife. So what we do is we cut the loaf in half at home, and then we just put it on its end, and we slice off the side like this. So that way you've got your little slices, and they fit in the toaster better too.
Yes, so important. It's so funny how obvious it seems now that you've done that. I would be turning it the other way.
You're right. It was not obvious for me. It was normally this is me squishing my bread. Yes. And then Steven comes along, and he does everything perfect. So, but another important thing with bread. Get yourself a dang good butter. Like we whip our own butter, and obviously it's unsalted and we add what we want. But if you can't do that at home, Kerrygold. Seriously, Kerrygold is like, it's a high fat content butter and it just makes it so much better.
Is that
and
the
I know
brand
what you're
name?
thinking. That is the brand name.
Kerrygold. Okay, I don't think I've heard of that.
It is the brand name. So if you can just find a high-fat content butter, and I know, high-fat content, nobody wants that.
But if you're eating sourdough,
if you're eating sourdough, you're helping your gut health. Just do it. I promise. It's so much better than margarine.
You had me at Katie Ann bringing in sourdough.
Yes, right, exactly. So this is basically our country loaf. So the reason it's called a country loaf is some old wives probably. Back in the day, white flour was really expensive instead of wheat flour, how it is now. And so what they would do is they would use a percentage of white flour and a percentage of wheat to make it cheaper for them. And so then they called it country bread because people in the country couldn't afford the full white bread. So they would mix it. So that's why we call it our country bread. So our country bread is the basis of everything we do for breads, and then when we do a specialty bread, we just add an inclusion. Like today, you can come in and you can get a cranberry walnuts. We put cranberries and walnuts in there. This weekend, we are doing a specialty loaf. It's called the Everything Loaf. It has Gruyere cheese, caramelized onions, and everything but the bagel seasoning. And let me tell you, I would say that and this one and our s'mores sourdough are my favorites.
Oh, the s'mores sourdough you talked about, which I haven't gotten to try yet, and I cannot wait.
Yes, we'll have to bring that one back maybe around the 4th of July and give that a try again. But yeah, the caramelized onion one, I mean, we cook those onions for 6 hours. I hate onions, and it's so good.
Wow.
So definitely come and try it.
I know, it's so funny.
I know.
I don't like onions.
I know.
I'd have to try it.
We're one in the same, I tell you.
I bet but I would even like it.
You can't tell. Even our dinner rolls and our steakhouse buns, those all have caramelized onions. And it's kind of like you're eating it and you're like, man, why is this so good? Why is this so much better than a regular loaf? So I'm gonna leave this loaf here, or regular bun. I'm gonna leave this loaf here and the butter here so you guys can all taste it. And yeah, it's delicious. And yeah, do we have anything to show you?
Well, I was going to say, so when you mentioned it's alive and the process of making sourdough bread, you did send a video, which I guess they still don't actually have it.
Darn, we'll show it later.
We will have to show it.
Yeah, show it later. It's fine. You'll see it bubbling.
Instagram,
it's really
social media.
cool. Yeah, we'll throw it on Instagram and social media too. But yeah, it's just kind of a cool process. It's science.
It is science.
It's science.
I know I love
so
to eat
cool.
it. I think it is important to know how you get this delicious meal.
Yes.
And it's so interesting that it's alive, meaning like you keep the same
You keep the same starter. We have had the same starter for about 8 years. And it's just this little bit, and you just feed it, and then you use it to add to your bread, and then it feeds and feeds, and then you just save a little bit. We had one time where somebody accidentally threw it. And so what we did, I don't know how Steve did it, but you take a piece of our bread and you can remake the starter out of the bread. So yeah.
He's like Dr. Frankenstein.
I know he is.
I love it.
It's alive.
Making things alive over there.
It's alive.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you, Sandy,
You're
so much
welcome.
for being with us. And Brick Up Bakery, of course, located at 112 North 4th Street, and that's in downtown Bismarck.